Number 24. A student was asked to compare the masses of 4 blocks that were all the same size but made of different materials. The student used a balance to compare the masses of 2 blocks at a time. The student repeated this process 3 more times with different pairs of blocks and recorded observations. Which list shows the blocks in order from least to greatest mass? 25. Students constructed a circuit using different colored light bulbs. Switch 1, switch 2, battery, switch 3, red bulb, blue bulb, white bulb, yellow bulb. What will happen if switch 3 is closed and the other switches are left open? Only the white bulb will operate. None of the bulbs will operate. Only the white and yellow bulbs will operate. Only the red and blue bulbs will operate. Number 26. The pictures show a sidewalk at 3 different times on the same day. The changes were caused by the weather. 6 a.m. dry sidewalk. 7 a.m. wet sidewalk. Noon dry sidewalk. Which table best describes the changes that most likely occurred between 6 a.m. and noon? 6 to 7 a.m., precipitation and runoff. 7 to noon, condensation and evaporation. 6 to 7 a.m., condensation and precipitation. 7 a.m. runoff. 7 a.m. to noon, runoff. 6 to 7 a.m. precipitation. 7 to noon, condensation and runoff. 6 to 7 a.m. precipitation and runoff. 7 a.m. to noon evaporation. 27. A farmer is reading a nature guide to learn how to make changes to a pond so that it will attract and support wildlife. The guide gives the suggestions listed below. Help your ponds support wildlife. Number 1. Reduce soil erosion by keeping livestock away from the banks of the pond. 2. Allow plants to grow along the shoreline to provide cover, nests, and food for wildlife. 3. Float logs near the edge of the water to provide habitats for salamanders. 4. Add large rocks to provide sunning sites for turtles. Which suggestion involves interactions between 2 groups of living organisms? Suggestion 1, Suggestion 2, Suggestion 3, or Suggestion 4? 28. Asteroids are large bodies of rock that are too small to be planets. An asteroid belt has many asteroids. The diagram shows the asteroid belt located between Mars and the first outer planet. Which outer planet is closest to this asteroid belt? Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, or Jupiter? 29. The table lists some properties of 4 different samples of matter. Sample number, state of matter at room temperature, color, attracted to a magnet, conducts electricity. So sample 1, solid, clear, no, no. Sample 2, solid, silver, yes, yes. Sample 3, liquid, clear, no, yes. Sample 4, liquid, white, no, yes. Which 2 samples could be glass and salt water? Samples 1 and 2, samples 3 and 4, samples 1 and 3, samples 2 and 3. Number 30. Some traits of living organisms are inherited, while some behaviors must be learned. Which statement related to inherited traits or learned behaviors is not correct? The ability of a figure skater to spin on ice is related to both inherited traits and learned behaviors. The ability of lions to use camouflage to hide in grassy fields is an inherited trait only. The number and type of legs a cricket has is an inherited trait only. The behavior of a dog guiding a blind person on a walk through a neighborhood is an inherited trait only. 31. Most alternative energy resources produce more energy at certain times. Which combination can produce a steady flow of energy from only alternative resources 24 hours a day, year-round? Geothermal and natural gas, hydroelectric and geothermal, solar and petroleum, wind and coal. 32. The diagram below represents the life cycles of 4 different insects. Which of these insects goes through a complete metamorphosis? 33. A teacher takes the top and a side off a box. She cuts a hole in another side and puts a candle outside the box as shown below. When the teacher lights the candle in a dark room, some of the candlelight shines through the hole. Which diagram best shows how the light appears on the opposite wall of the box? 34. Which would most likely happen to the carbon dioxide-oxygen cycle if Earth's large forests were all cut down? There would be more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because fewer plants would be using it to produce their own food. The remaining plants would stop producing carbon dioxide and animals would use less oxygen. The remaining plants would produce more oxygen and animals would produce less carbon dioxide. There would be more oxygen in the atmosphere because fewer plants would be using it to produce their own food. 35. The circuit has 3 light bulbs and a bell. Battery, blue bulb, switch 3, switch 2, bell, blue bulb, switch 1, green bulb. Which procedure will result in only the blue light bulbs operating? Close switches 1 and 2 and leave switch 3 open. Close switch 3 and leave switch 1 and 2 open. Close switches 2 and 3 and leave switch 1 open. Close switch 2 and leave switches 1 and 3 open. 36. A teacher asked 6 students to design and build solar ovens that could be used to boil water. After the ovens are complete, the students record the maximum temperatures that can be reached inside their ovens in an hour. Oven, number, maximum temperature reached in degrees Celsius. Which list identifies all the ovens that must be redesigned in order to reach temperatures that will boil water in 1 hour? Ovens 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Ovens 1, 3, 5, and 6, ovens 1, 3, and 6 only, ovens 1 and 3 only. 37. A partial food web is shown. Conifer leaves, elk, blue grouse, conifer seeds, red crossbills, sharp-shinned hawks, northern goshawks, wolves. In this food web, energy is transferred directly between conifer seeds and red crossbills, conifer leaves and northern goshawks, blue grouse and wolves, elk and sharp-shinned hawks. 38. The photograph shows a beach on a partly sunny day. Which of the following is an interaction between the sun and the ocean that results in clouds forming near the beach? Energy from the sun causes precipitation over the beach. Energy from the sun causes water to evaporate from the ocean. Light from the sun reflects off the surface of the ocean. Light from the sun decreases the amount of water vapor in the air over the ocean. 39. A student drops the same heavy ball onto identical blocks of soft clay from different heights. For each height, they measure the depth of the dent the ball makes in the clay. Why is the depth of the dent different in each trial? The size of the ball changes, the material of the ball changes, the mass of the ball when it hits the clay changes, the force of the ball when it hits the clay changes. Number 40. Which of these is not soluble in water? Oil, salt, honey, sugar. 41. Data for 4 animal populations in a wooded area were collected before and after a shopping mall was constructed near the area. The graph shows changes in the populations. Data from a wildlife population study. Number of animals, snakes, squirrels, deer, raccoons. Key. 1 year before mall opened, 5 years after mall opened. Which animal's food source most likely increased after the mall opened? snakes, squirrels, and raccoons, squirrels only, snakes, squirrels, and deer, raccoons only. 42. Some scientists measured and recorded local rainfall amounts and water levels at several local lakes over the summer. They compared their measurements with data from the past 30 years. The scientists concluded that the area was drier this summer than in previous years. They plan to continue recording these measurements each summer for the next decade. What characteristic of the area are the scientists studying? Climate, because they are making more than one type of measurement. Climate, because they are comparing rainfall amounts over a long period of time. Weather, because they are tracking changes only to their local environment. Weather, because they expect rainfall amounts and water levels to continue to decrease. 43. A student uses a set of headphones to listen to music. Which of these objects uses the same source of energy as the headphones? A flute using wind energy, a piano using mechanical energy, a keyboard using electrical energy, a teapot using thermal energy. 44. This photograph shows plants growing on the surface of a pond. How do plants like these form fossil fuels? F. The dead plants sink to the bottom of the pond and get buried by sediment for millions of years. G. The dead plants get buried for millions of years and form fossils that attract carbon. H. The dead plants sink to the bottom of the pond and are consumed by decomposers. J. The dead plants produce carbon that is consumed by fish, which form fossil fuels. Don't forget to go back and check your work and put all of your answers into your answer document.